Okay. Despite what you may think, I do not enjoy dunking on Avengers, a game that I have defended more than most, and I still recommend to this day to people who are like, should I get it for 20 bucks? Yeah, sure. I think there's 20 bucks worth of content there, even just from the base campaign. And yet, this game's quest to turn itself into a long-term live service looter never seems to be going well. And today was a major milestone in that after 11 months, they are finally releasing their first Omega level threat in terms of an old story mission from the Kate Bishop campaign that they have scaled up and done some tweaks to with new mechanics to a certain extent and modifiers. And this is supposed to be the hardest endgame content that exists for the game and has some exotic rewards and stuff. And they actually kind of moved this up to sub it in instead of patrol mode, because they thought people have been clamoring for, this Omega level content forever now, because they were teasing like AIM cloning labs pretty much like the month the game launched, and yet we have had nothing like that. So you need to be like 145, 150. You need to pretty much be max. You cannot use your AI teammates. You need to do this in a group with other people. Matchmaking was not a problem. I was able to find 4 people immediately. And yet it's also like the first hour of this launching, so who knows? And it's unclear what matchmaking will be like in the future, considering you can only beat this once a week for rewards. I didn't beat it. I was essentially forced to quit out of it before the end, and I did not have it in me to start a second run. I will get into why I essentially rage quit by the end of it, which is partially the mission's fault, maybe partially not, but the whole thing is a very frustrating experience that I am coming away with very unsatisfied, because I got no rewards out of spending an hour with it just now. And even the rewards that are listed does not really seem like something I care that much about pursuing on one character a week, so I'm not even that bothered by it. Okay, so it is pretty much just the Kate Bishop mission, the Super Adaptoid mission, that is quite long. It's just a very long mission to begin with, and then even more so because essentially what they've done is they put all the Tachyon Rift modifiers on this mission, which are your health slowly drains, which is not as pronounced as it used to be, but it's still annoying. Enemies don't drop health themselves. Every enemy has that weird glowy shield on them, so they take way less damage, and you essentially have to break through that shield before they react to your hits at all. I've never liked this modifier. It always, Avengers combat does feel pretty good generally speaking, but while the shield modifier is on, it's like you punch an enemy and they just stand there like nothing happened, and there's like no flinch, they don't react, so it's just kind of, it's increasing their health without, it's worse than increasing their health, because it also just kind of like makes them a statue, and it makes them like not flinch to anything at all. So that modifier's on, and there's the time trial modifier, where every so often you have to fly around and get a little glowing circle to add time to your timer. I hate time missions, but this isn't really that big of a deal, honestly. There's so many of these little time things that pop up that you'll just get them by accident half the time. So the time thing was not really a factor. We had a team of people that were all above 145. Our team was fine. I was Black Widow. We had Hulk, Iron Man, and Miss Marvel. The Miss Marvel would die every 30 seconds on repeats, which is fine. It didn't really matter for the first part of this, where it's just your usual, like, okay, we're going to this location, clearing some enemies, unlocking people from some cells, clearing some elite group of enemies, and like moving on. And like, it's pretty standard stuff. They have one of those giant robots there that you have to kill all their weak points and then kill the robot. I don't remember if that was there in the original mission, or if this is something they added for the Super Adaptoid thing, or for the Omega mission. Again, like, I haven't played this since the Kate Bishop campaign launched, because you would play it once and then never again, because there was no reason to play it ever again. So I don't even remember, like, I can't think of anything that really jumped out as different to me in the first, 5 or 6 sections of this, were more or less just your usual objectives of clear enemies, except now you have this modifier on. This all leads to kind of a vault sequence, which I do remember from the original, where you have to put in, various numbers in order to unlock the final thingamajig. This was not hard. This is actually easy. For some reason, they don't spawn that many enemies in this part, so this really wasn't hard at all. And then you get to the super adaptoid fight, which is the problem. This is what they have done the most modifications on. They have added a bunch of new mechanics, like, well, the thing is, in the original campaign, you could just kind of blow through it because you were probably on like story difficulty. So now it's harder with these modifications, and also it's harder because they pretty much took everything that everyone told them that they hated about combat in Avengers and put it all in the one boss fight. And that's essentially like just missiles flying at you nonstop that you more or less can't do anything about. You were in a giant open arena with no cover, with no health, no health potion vial things at all. There are no like smaller scale enemies, and that's important because in combat missions you want like smaller enemies to spawn, because killing smaller enemies can, depending on your perks, can spawn you health. They can trigger damage perks if you kill a lot of them in a row. Most importantly, they give you intrinsic energy if you kill them or do finishers on them, and that is the way to kind of make your cooldowns go way down. But when you have this just giant, massive, singular boss with no medium enemies, there is almost no way to recover health unless you have some sort of intrinsic, like you recover health on 5 consecutive hits or something, ability, or one of the artifacts, I think, that can heal you, and you can't get, pretty much, you cannot get intrinsic energy because you need to be clearing smaller scale enemies to get intrinsic energy, and so this means pretty much none of your heroic cooldowns are ever up except for the very start, and if they are up, they're just really, really slow, and so you don't really get to use those. I was really only using my Black Widow like laser or taser gun thing because that was the only one that would recharge in any length of time. We kept getting to this point. So the first time we did it, we had all 4 people, and we got it to a point where it splits into 3 things. And if you thought it was annoying dodging missiles and like fire ground spam, well, there's just one of those. When it splits into 3 things, it becomes borderline impossible. So pretty much it was just Hulk running around reviving everyone, because Hulk is the only one that can consistently stay alive. Sometimes there were things that seemed like arena wipe mechanics where you had to get in like this little bubble that would protect you, which is okay. The missiles just seem almost impossible to avoid. Like you can if one's coming directly at you, you can dodge it, but then there's probably 2 more circling behind you that are just going to destroy you at any given point. I'm using Black Widow, which is not a tanky character in the least. Like I'm always range DPS. This is a problem when everything 1 and 2 shots you in a boss fight. Like I had no problems with any of the enemies or any of the phases before this, but when you are stuck in a room with no health regen and with no cover and with auto-tracking missiles that kill you almost instantly, there's really nothing you can do. So sometimes, I could just sprint around long enough, but like the time it would take me to stop and aim my guns, I would get hit by a missile half the time. And if I'm aiming up at a super adaptoid in the air, and he has these red circles on the ground that are about to like light on fire or something that is suddenly out of my view frame, I can't really do anything about that. But what ended up being the problem is like I would have kept at it, but after the first time we wiped, Iron Man just quit. And it even says like you do not have enough people to do this activity, and yet it'll still keep throwing you into it with your remaining teammates. Avengers does not have a join in progress feature, so it's not like they were going to slot someone in. I was worried it would reset the whole mission on a single wipe, which would have been a disaster. It does not do that, except you're not going to be able to have anyone else join. So if you thought it was hard with 4 people, with 3 people, it's even harder. So we tried, me and Miss Marvel and Hulk. Again, Miss Marvel would die all the time. I was dying all the time too, because I'm suddenly in this, cover-free arena that I cannot dodge the sheer amount of crap on the screen at any given time. It's kind of impossible. And you pretty much need a Jarvis barrier that activates when you're damaged, which does exist. I have that on a couple characters, just not Black Widow, because otherwise I don't really understand how you would survive this constant barrage of stuff and also have time to do damage. We kept getting it to the phase where there's 3 of them. At one point we almost killed all 3 of the ones that split off, but we wiped again, and after 4 or 5 tries, then Miss Marvel quit, and then it was just me and Hulk. We got to the same point. We did okay, but eventually, I was like, I'm gonna call it. Like, we're not gonna do this with 2 people. There's no way. because I don't think it scales. So like I don't think because people left it like scaled down the health or scaled up our damage or anything. I just think you have less people, which is why you need 4 people to start with. So I quit. I had to. I played for about an hour, and that's enough to collect my thoughts. And the problem is now is like, yeah, I would kind of like to try that boss battle again with a full team. Do I want to do the 45 minutes of 6 different sections that I know are not that hard to complete, but are just take forever because they're so long? Not really. Like, I don't want to go do that with Hulk or Thor or someone else just to get back to that point. Maybe I will over the course of the week, but again, like, nothing will protect you from idiot teammates who just rage quit on the first sign that this might be kind of hard. The impression I'm getting from that boss battle is this is like the wrong kind of hard. Like, the additional mechanics they have put in here are not like skill-based per se. It doesn't feel like, it just feels like a bunch of spam that is like kind of impossible to avoid. Like, this isn't like, oh, we got to work as a team and do this thing and that thing. Like, working as a team is like just revive your teammates before you wipe. Like, that is the teamwork mechanic, which I understand why computer AI would not be good at that. And computer AI can't do things like avoid, room wipes. Like, they had the Monica, the thing where Monica would like blow the entire room up, except if you were hiding behind a pillar. Computers didn't know how to hide behind a pillar, so they would always die every time that happened. So similarly, I'm sure during the little phase where you're supposed to hide in this bubble, they would all just die. So I understand why this requires 4 people. It's just that the sheer amount of spam here, and like I was watching Hulk, like max health Hulk, whatever, like this the tankiest dude ever who never died in any of the previous things, get one shot by like the Iron Man chest laser of the super adaptoid. It just, and then to revive someone, you have to like be standing on their body, which is sometimes covered by like a ground spam, we're about to blow up the whole floor thing, or shooting a bunch of homing missiles at you that you can't dodge or else you'll stop the revive. So it's kind of a mess. Like, I don't feel the need to do this. Like, the rewards don't seem that good in the first place. I've heard that they're even bugged and not dropping for some people. So like, Lord only knows if I had finished it and gotten an exotic or not gotten an exotic or not gotten anything from that. Not that, what they were going to give out is necessarily even better in the first place. And as much as I would be curious to see if I can even beat this stupid super adaptoid with all this rocket spam and whatever with a different character who's in the glass cannon, I don't want to do the full, first part of this again. Like, that does not seem remotely enjoyable, especially when there are, other activities that take way less time to get exotics currently in the game. This is just nothing I really want to do. Like, this is not, I did not find this terribly enjoyable. I have never liked the Tachyon Rift modifiers in the first place, and then having a final boss that is essentially a big empty room with no cover and no real mechanics other than like dodge all the things is not something I like. Maybe there are more interesting mechanics the lower the health bar goes or something, but I don't know. But my time was also kind of cut short by people rage quitting and me ultimately having to rage quit because it was impossible. So I guess I can't fully judge this. If we were really going at it as a team for, 10, 12 attempts or whatever, and maybe that would have panned out. But even if I beat it and got an exotic, I don't think I would be really changing my opinion that much. And I don't know, man. I don't see a future for this game if this is kind of what the end game is supposed to look like, both in terms of a content perspective and a looting perspective. They have given all these disclaimers about like things are in progress. We're going to add, more perks to the loot, and we're going to add more unique mechanics and future ones. And like, there's one coming with Wakanda, and like, I'm still going to play the Wakanda expansion because that will at least be like genuinely new content. But this is not enjoyable. This is almost less enjoyable than I was anticipating, and I did not really have high expectations for it. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I don't know if I'll bother attempting that again anytime soon. I just don't see a reason to, and especially if rewards might be bugged. Like, I really don't think there's any point in doing it before that is guaranteed to be fixed. So I don't know what's going on there. If you tried it yourself, let me know if you had a better experience than me. If you just had a blast with the modifiers that are so much fun, and super adaptoids rockets that are constantly flying at your head. More power to you. This is just not something I found particularly enjoyable. I think the Monica villain sector was better than this, just because it was at least somewhat mechanically new. It was totally new content, and like even if the DPS check at the end was weird, like I couldn't beat the Monica villain sector with my not maxed out Hawkeye, because I did not have the range DPS to beat it. It was just impossible. So I had to start that over again. So it's kind of a similar situation. But I did beat that in the end, and like that fight at least seemed more kind of coherent, and like, you know, you weren't just dodging spam every half second. That was a little better, I think, overall than this. Their way of kind of increasing difficulty here does not seem like something that I'm interested in at all. So I don't know. That's all I got to say about it for now. I will probably try it again later in the week, but not anytime soon. I don't know. I was really turned off by that. And I got to check and see the status of reward bugs and things like that. So that's a thumbs down for me. I even if it worked like absolutely perfectly, I still don't think it would be very fun or worth it. And like it pains me to say this, because like I have personally had one-on-one conversations with like this whole dev team, and they're very nice, and I really believe they want this game to succeed. And yet like so many aspects of what the game currently delivers are just not good. From a difficulty or loot or many perspectives. So again, I'm definitely playing Black Panther. I'm not like throwing away my copy of Avengers, but this was not something that I thought was a good addition. Maybe they will tweak it. Maybe there will be, you know, changes to it in time. But for now, that's my initial impression of it. And Evie, do you have anything to say? Evie also agrees with me and thinks there was too much rocket spam. So, all right. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.